Perfect timing. Oh, also we're live.
We are.
Yeah. He's right over here.
Are you guys ready for the party? The party? We're gonna do some, it'll be Irish karaoke. No, I'm just kidding. You know what I love? I love that everywhere this guy goes, there's a crowd with him that all looks like they're gonna start singing Irish drinking songs any second.
I keep telling them I'm going to get them a free drink. Come on this way, they'll get you a drink, and then run away very fast.
So we're going to get Murph up here in just a second here. If you're not familiar with TwoToneMurphy, this is life changing.
Okay, while they're getting set up, let's introduce you to the team we got here. Start with Mike. Say hi to the people.
Hello, everybody.
Got Mike, and then we got Brian, our B2 over here. The glance is all you get. We got Georgina. Georgina is the most important part of our team. We'll stare at her. She'll stare at us. She won't blink. And where's the rest of our team? They just kind of fell off. That's good. We're doing okay. And I'm Chris. Speedy Retreat. I do the SkyOPS. I do the helicopters. And I think we're going on right now. So let me get you a good spot. If you can't hear, please let me know. But I think it should be okay.
Hello. Good afternoon. Hello, friends and followers and people of the world. Great to see everyone here. FSExpo, Sunday, the day after. And we're here with Brian on the SayIntentions stage, which is great. I love what you did with the place.
It's my favorite Scotsman.
And look, you guys are well aware of what SayIntentions are bringing to our flight sims, right? I mean, it's far more than ATC, and this is something that Brian has said before. It's like it's far beyond just ATC. When we started looking at all these products or add-ons that come with the program, I mean, we got
at least that's
the
two
first one that
Canadians.
was like really threw me out was SkyOPS. Don't know if you guys have used SkyOPS before.
Yeah, I'm curious, how many have you SkyOPS? Oh, okay. So, all right.
We're doing okay.
There's some fun that you can have when you get home then.
So anyone who hasn't used it, what SkyOPS is, it's a way you can interact with, the ATC client. It'll detect the type of aircraft you're in and your location, and there's a range of missions you can ask it to generate, right? So you can be in a helicopter and say, hey, I'm on the ramp here, I'm in this aircraft, can you give me a mission? Search and rescue, air ambulance.
You can literally say, I'd like a mission where I rescue a baby wolf, and it will literally come up with a backstory and put it near you so you can fly in your own, in your own city or your own, you're like, these are my mountains. I love these mountains. You can go rescue a baby wolf in your mountains if that's the mission that you want. Yeah.
And it's not just kind of text-based. They'll inject the scenery. They're giving you the backstory. Your crew, who she always gives out to me, but the crew will board the aircraft and say, hey, look, we're going to be ready to leave here now in a few minutes. We're just getting a few things ready. The immersion that you have, you got to try it, right? You have to try it. It's all part of the product. But then when you're flying out to it, I mean, you have your ATC on, you can talk to tower, they're all aware now of what you're doing, everything's all interlinked. But you can also talk to your crew and say, if it's very unlikely, but if you get lost, you don't know where this target area is. Well, you can, hey, are we near this site yet? They'll give you a heading, they'll give you a range, and you can actually say, hey, keep your eyes out, I need a bit of help here. Even further than that, you can say, can you launch a flare? Can you send us a signal? And as you're flying along, you'll see that it just appears like, oh, hey, look, there's the flare over there. And the last couple of months, I suppose, I mean, we've seen a transition from 2020, which has far better LOD. I mean, we know this, the distance in which you can see objects on 2020 they're just better than 2024 for the moment. But you guys seem to have fixed a lot of that because the draw distance now in 24, well, now you can see the stuff from very far away. And then, you know, depending on the mission you're doing, you're either going to land or you can hover, drop the winch guy out and he does his thing, and you do the mission and you go home. And you can do all of that without pressing any buttons. It's purely done from you speaking to, you know, ATC and the controller. If you haven't tried it yet, you got to try it. And they do other stuff, you know, cargo missions, you can do VIP transit, charter stuff. It's all there, right? And then you say, okay, this is cool. You know, what else can this do? So the WhatsApp thing, right? So with WhatsApp, there's a number you put in, it's SayIntentionsAI, and you're connected now to SkyOPS. And you can text the thing, hey, you know, I'm waiting on a mission, can you give me some information? And they'll text you back. You get a text on your phone, hey, yeah, we're doing this now. Oh, okay. You know, leave the sitting room and go into your sim, and off you go again. Everything's kind of linked together. You got to try it. It's mind-blowing. It's deadly. And I suppose, Brian, you know, with these features, and you've announced more features here, you know, this weekend.
Yes.
When you have this idea and you're saying to yourself, right, okay, look, this sounds cool, I'm going to build it. You build it, the guys dev it, and it's pushed out. Is it what you expected to start, or like?
Never.
Right. It's
never even close. Yeah, we'll often come up with an idea for a feature, and we go, oh, this would be cool. We sort of bat it around a little bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, the full realization almost never looks anything like it. There's usually one tiny piece of it where we go, yeah, that's the thing. And then there's about 900 other things where we go, yeah, we got a little carried away. And Pocket Sky, by the way, is no exception to that. But yeah, that's generally how it goes.
We spoke a few weeks ago about, you know, being on that leading edge of new technology. There's so many new features available because, well, in this AI space, things move very fast. It's like, wait, hang on, you can do this now, or it can do that now, and you're training models and getting to do all the stuff. I suppose when you have an idea, right, we wanted to do this, and that could be a simple thing, like SkyOPS, we want you to fly this mission. Where does the ideas come then to link everything? Okay, well, you're going to need a crew,
right.
You're going to need a situation, you might even need a time limit, and, well, there could be bad weather thrown in and all this as well. Like,
right.
Where does all that come into it?
You're talking about for the generation of the mission itself?
Yeah.
Like, what is the AI thinking?
Yeah.
You know, that's actually a really smart question. Surprisingly smart.
I'm surprised as well, in fairness. Write it down quick. Do you remember the time I said this?
The reason it's such an interesting question is because when we first decided to do SkyOPS, in fact, where's Chris?
Right here.
Chris is the brains behind a lot of what we ended up doing with SkyOPS, but when we first decided to do it, we turned that task over to the AI and said, you know, here's the scenario. It's this type of airplane, it's this type of pilot, it's this airport in this area, and they kind of want a mission related to search and rescue.
Yeah.
Can you invent something that works? And it was terrible at it. Like, we had this really great idea, this grand vision for how to pull it all together, and we built it all, so thinking that there's no way this is not going to work. It's going to be amazing. And what it came back with, a third of the time, was nonsense, right? Some of it was right and some of it was wrong, and you're like, this is ridiculous, that would never happen. And we tried and we tried and we tried and we tried to get it to work. A lot of times what it was doing was placing the missions in some very strange places. Like, you'd be like, I want a backcountry mission in the forest, and it would place the mission on the corner of the 7-Eleven, and you're like, what? Anyway, it actually shocked us how bad the AI was at it. We were astonished. And Chris and I had the conversation, and we said, we're gonna have to shelf this because the AI technology has not yet, we'll come back to it. And no kidding, the very next day, OpenAI launched one of their new high-end reasoning models called O1. I don't know if you guys are familiar with O1, but it was the very next day, it was the day they announced O1, and I said, Chris, if this will do what they say, this will work. And we looked it up and went, and it will be able to do it at a very expensive price too. And so we quickly sort of wired it up into O1, hit the button, and you could picture us both sitting there like fingers crossed, right? It was amazing. It was amazing. And so it's such a funny example of the technology sort of appearing at just the right time for the idea. We got very lucky with this one. Fortunately, since then, and we said, well, does this mean we have to charge more for SkyOPS? Because it was really expensive. Like it was a couple dollars to generate a mission, like one mission. And we were like, this is not going to work.
Wow.
And fortunately, again, after we were doing a lot of testing with it, a lot of expensive testing, just before we were ready to either launch it or say, it's just got to wait because I won't raise the price for this, they announced a significant price drop to 01.
Right.
And we did it. And so we launched it, and it's awesome. And now we're using 03, which is even better.
Okay.
But it's such a funny example of how we are right on the bleeding edge of this stuff, and sometimes how expensive it is to do this insanely cool stuff.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people forget just how my wife always knows what day is the day we have to pay the bills, because she'll see me in my office with a little tear forming in my eye as I'm like writing these checks. So an astonishingly expensive platform to operate, but astonishingly cool results that we get out of it, right?
100%. And like, where we're at now, so we're saying, you know, that's Skynet. You want a mission, it's going to inject in all the scenery that you need. Then you start, okay, well, can we take this a stage further? Yes, we have ATC Control, right, which is a great kind of anxiety breaker for anyone looking to kind of take the flying experience online. It's like, well, I don't want to push the button there because that's a human and he could give out if I get this wrong. Using AI to help with that, especially with say intentions, you're not worried if they give out to you. And not only that, you can actually choose what level you're at.
You should hear what the AI controllers say about our customers after they're on break.
They got a list.
Once they go on break, yeah, they
That's pretty. So you're in the sim. You want to do a mission. What they're doing now with this AI living world, you have, you know, traffic injection is there, each with their own persona. They're figuring out what they're doing. You know, you got a mentor with you if you need one. Don't use that Murphy fella; he'll lead you astray. You have your crew. All of this is all linked in together, and you're thinking, do you know, that's a lot of stuff running. And the client is light, right? It's 30 or 40 megs.
Yeah, it's like 30 megabytes.
light.
The download is like 30 megabytes, yeah.
So it's doing all the thinking far away from us. But with anything in a sim, you add any object into a sim, be it, you know, a scenery or an aircraft, whatever it is, there's going to be a hit, right? So I was saying how light it is. You're saying, you know, earlier on, there's like what the FPS impact is minimal. And I'm saying, no, for me, genuinely, zero, nothing.
We didn't even pay him to say that.
Right. But I found a couple of tweaks.
I'm not sure it's totally true, but I still love hearing it every time he says it.
There's a couple of things I've been looking into this, because Flight Sim years ago wasn't about the flying, the experience. Flight Sim is about tinkering your system. I need 10 extra FPS, and I'm going to get there. You know, right? That's what we did. I mean, we tinkered for like 90% of our time for, you know, 10% flying. The way the Sims have turned now, well, they run better. I mean, they're on console. You have all these options. However, there are still certain things you can do to help, right? And it's now, your mileage will vary, right? But on my testing, what I've done, looking at the SayIntentions client with traffic injection, with all the stuff that goes on, there are some settings on Windows, specifically Windows, that you can look at. So there's, you guys know, you can get like, you know, the DX cache cleaner, and it fixes all your driver cache files, right? You have them on flightsim.to, you can download it. It's a free thing. It just deletes all shader stuff, which helps, right? But there are other two things running that are always running that, you know, if you want to experiment, have a look at it. One of them is part of the Windows Defender system. It's this real-time protection, constantly scanning. And yes, you can add programs to a whitelist and say, well, look, just don't touch this stuff. It's all grand. It still watches them, because when it's communicating, it's a port that has to look at it. So again, in a controlled environment, don't have websites open, try disabling that during the use of your flight sim session. You'll see a difference. The second one then is the Windows Search Indexer. And these are all like nice names. You might say, yeah, what they're doing, they're looking at each and every file when it becomes active, and it has to, hey, what are you doing? That's okay. There is a performance impact on these, and you might necessarily see it on an FPS counter. You might see 1 or 2 frames, right? But you'll see it from the lack of stutters or micro stutters that can come into any app or any program. So have a look at that, try it out. You know, we can post something maybe on Discord, just say, hey, try these, right? Once you're finished with your test, you just turn it back on again, right? There are settings in Windows that can be turned on or off. You're not changing any code of that. But that was something that I had a look at, because even a browser, right? You can have your browser open, the SayIntentions map is there. Well, that's using your resources. So there's ways you can kind of whitelist these, or use tablets or use your phone to be able to access all of this stuff. So have a try of that and see how you get on. If it breaks, we'll blame Hughes fan. It wasn't me.
And follow Murph for more optimization tips, I guess.
Right, you know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, it's since seeing all these things with SayIntentions and where it's going, like it's exciting. I mean, you always use the word we're just beginning, right?
We are just beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean-
we're just getting started. We have 6 more ideas and then we're done. No, we are just getting started. We have a lot of ideas.
Like 12 months ago at FSExpo, I mean, which was, the weather was different,
Yes.
everything was different. What you announced there and what you were working on, come forward 12 months, I mean, do you have much time to reflect? How did this go? How did that deploy?
It's funny you say that. Yes, we do a lot of we do a lot of retrospective analysis is probably the best way to think of it. We had this idea and yeah, how did the launch go? What does the data say? What are the scores looking like? Are people responding well to it? Those kinds of we do that constantly, but we never really take those moments like rarely to look back and say, guys, where were we a year ago? Just 1 year ago, and now we sort of look at those things and those features seem so obvious to us that we're just sort of waving them off, even though they're it's amazing stuff. Mm-hmm. We do feel like we've set our own bar quite high in terms of speed of innovation. Mm-hmm. We got to a point where people expected us to launch a new feature every week because that's what we were doing.
Yeah.
Right. We're still awful close to that. But I've had to sort of pull that back a little bit because some of the stuff that we're working on is really, really, really hard. Like traffic injection and sequencing takes an immense amount of resources, and therefore, we can't innovate in other areas faster. But I'm super proud of Pocket Sky and where that's sort of come from. That's a wonderful example of an app where the original idea was, hey, let's let people just check the status of their flight while they're out. It'll be really easy, and it's just a cute, simple app. And then, so the first iteration of this would have had just that one tab, essentially. And before you know it, it was rapidly, let's make it so they can, talk, so they can see their ATC history.
Yeah.
Now let's make it so they can talk to ATC through the app. Now let's make it so they'll get a push notification if ATC is trying to talk to them while they're away from their PC. Oh, now let's make it so that their cabin crew can talk to them if they're at the grocery store.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, now let's make it so, and it just went on and on and on. And the last and final stunt that we pulled, is Brian here? There he is. Yeah. We were about 10 minutes from tying it all up and saying, okay, it's done. And I said, Brian, we have to add an instructor feature to this. We have to make it so the instructor can be air traffic control and like type things in, and then the student won't know if that instruction came from the instructor or from air traffic control, but he's got to respond to it. And you can hear like the size like, okay, but no more. And so, that's where that one got sort of snuck in at the last minute. But this is how we work. And I have 99 more ideas now that Brian's going to kill me for. His name is also Brian, so we call him B2. Yeah, it's nonstop. And by the way, I've actually been asked this: where do the ideas come from? And we have a million ideas, right? We'll never run out of like cool stuff we want to make it do next. But I know we found like the next good idea when I can't sleep at night. Like it stays with me. Like I go to bed thinking this would be a really good idea, and then I wake up in the morning and I'm like, I think we know how to solve A and B now. All we have to do is solve C, D, and E. And if that happens like 3 nights in a row, I know we've got something. Like I know it's gonna stick, and that's where Pocket Sky came from actually.
It's mad because like you get the idea, you flush it out, then you develop it, and then you add stuff to it.
Right.
But you don't just stop there. I mean, you're very open to work with other developers, other companies. I mean, one of them On Air. I mean, you can link everything into On Air.
Yeah, this is cool. Yeah, so yeah, they just approached us and said, is there anything we can do? And I said, oh my gosh, it would be so cool if you're an On Air customer with like your virtual airline, and you could call your airline dispatcher on the radio, right? And they would know everything about your flight and your fuel and the economy at your arrival airport and all that stuff. So yeah, we wired that up really quick. Look, there's not a developer here that I wouldn't love to be working with. A lot of them we are. A lot of them, we're now, tied up with, and it's super exciting. PMDG and any builds, and I could go on and on, like really cool stuff that we've now started tying together. But we want to work with everybody here, right? Because we're trying to add a layer to what everybody else is doing. We're trying to just sort of take what everybody else is doing and take it one more step.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's great because, like, as you say, like the integration with aircraft, specifically with aircraft, then also the things like a career mode with on air. It links everything in together. And then another thing you did this weekend is like, okay, yeah, we know Say Intentions, they want to work with everybody. Then you come up with this idea of Launchpad. And I'm
Launchpad,
like,
yeah.
wait, hang on, wait. Like, because I've very mad ideas, right? Mad, dangerous ideas.
If only there was a large sign
Yeah, don't know.
about Launchpad.
And you might, just to kind of let this sink in for a second, right? If you have an idea, hey, wouldn't this be so cool in a sim? What if I can get it to do this? It's your idea, right? But if, where do I start? Who do I talk to? How do I need a coder? I need
or
this.
I could build it, but how am I going to get people to buy it?
Exactly. So that's what this is, which is pretty cool. And like, okay, you're probably going to get so many ideas, right?
I hope so. Look, everybody knows. In fact, I was talking to FS Elite about this. They said, "Oh, we see this all the time, where there's this incredible new idea. Developers get passionate and excited, and they'll do some coverage on this thing that's coming, and then for whatever reason, a variety of reasons, it falls. It never makes it, right? And sometimes the reason is lack of engineering resources. They hit a problem that they couldn't quite get through, or sometimes the reason is they finished it but couldn't sell it, right? They couldn't market it. Sometimes the reason is they needed some money, right? Like they needed some expensive servers, or they needed some cloud resources, and they just didn't have the money to get it. We want to make sure our goal with Launchpad is to say, hey, partner with us. Like let us help you with all that. We're really good at solving all of those problems. We got smart engineers. Besides me, yes, definitely besides me, we have smart engineers. No, I mean that sincerely. Like side note, every single engineer we hire is way smarter than me, and that helps a lot in terms of our ability to move quickly. Most of the time they're telling me to get out of the way. No, but sometimes they just need help with a problem, and we've got people that can help with that. Sometimes they need a way to get it to market, to just build awareness, and sometimes they need some money. We can help with all of those things. We get wonderful volume pricing on cloud compute. We get wonderful volume pricing on AI voices and AI technologies. We can help by allowing other developers to get access to the pricing that we get.
Yeah.
I hope this is viewed as the outreach that we want it to be, right? Let us help make everything better.
And there's not going to be a bad idea, right? I mean, you'll know straight away.
I have a lot of bad ideas.
They're great. The bird add-on app, yeah, but they have to fly to the left. This is going to be a huge hit.
Right.
The great ideas. Smoke signal sim, yes.
That's funny.
But again, you might have an idea. I mean, because as flights enthusiasts, we spend a lot of time flying, right? Wouldn't it be great if I had something that could just do this, right? So,
is there a single person here who hasn't at some point in front of the sim said, I've got a great idea for something that would make my life easier, right? Everybody, we've all had that moment, sometimes 10 times, 100 times in the middle of our flight. Why hasn't someone solved this? Why hasn't someone done this? It would be so cool if I could just do this. And actually, that's one of the things I love about the flight sim community. There's this sort of level of, I'm just going to use the word geekiness here. We're all geeking out over this stuff, and geeks never run out of ideas, right?
Yeah, it's great. And like, there's so many ideas coming to be had now. It's like, no, that's not a good idea. There's other things as well beyond just all of the ATC integration, the traffic integration, which again, it's coming very, very soon. You're going to see a lot more of that. You've said from the start, this isn't here to replace anything. This is here to enhance your experience. Right. And I kind of push that towards online flying, online networks, right? And we know there's already a system whereby there's not coverage globally on VATSIM, we know that, right? So there is an element that Say Intentions can actually pick up. Hey, you were flying from Dublin to Boston. Well, your ATC finishes as you go into Shanwick. Well, Say Intentions can pick that up. Okay, well, we know your flight plan, we know your step, we know your altitude, we even know your squawk. They can continue that on. It just not yet on their side can they take the receiving side of it.
Yeah, our vision, if I'm going to be very candid, I have a giant loud microphone, I'm just going to say it out loud. I might get in trouble. But our vision is that, especially when it comes to air traffic control, no matter where you are, no matter what you're flying, where you're flying, you should have the best possible ATC experience available to you at the time. And by the way, human networks will always be better than AI networks, right? Always. So we do not pretend that we're ever going to replace the human networks. That is not our goal. Again, our goal is you should have the best experience with ATC for the duration of your flight, no matter what that is that happens to be available to you. So our goal is, let's facilitate that. Let's make that simple. Let's make that seamless. If you want to start in an area that has coverage from a human network, awesome. But the handoff should be super smooth, right? The transition between networks, we want to do everything we can to make that super smooth and easy. We've got the departure part solved, so if you depart out of a coverage area from a human network, the transition is like really good. There is no level of immersion breakage as that happens, and it's awesome. And we would love to get some cooperation and partnerships to solve that on the arrival side as well.
Yeah.
But that's our goal. We want if the human coverage is available, we want you to have human coverage.
It's just a reality. I mean, you just don't have 24-hour global coverage when it comes to the online networks.
But even if you are on a human network, you still want your cabin crews, right? You still want your ramp agents. You still want your co-pilot, right? You still want all of those things. So let us facilitate that as well.
100%. Just on that as well, I mean, yes, you're flying online or offline. You're probably better offline because what happens, right? But you have this cabin crisis setting, right? So that and it works. There's a slider.
Right.
Do you want like some sort of a crisis to deal with?
Yeah, this is everyone's favorite feature, this cabin crisis. You use it all the time, right?
All the time. I am the crisis.
Well, there's a gentleman named Murph flying the airplane right now. We're declaring an emergency.
Well, it's again like that's kind of the idea at the start. It's where that could grow into. I mean, all of a sudden, okay, perhaps this is another wild idea, but like there's an issue with this aircraft for a crisis or whatever, and then another user logs in and they can say, oh look, this guy has an issue, but we're now part of that solution to help, right?
I love this idea. I just had an issue and now I need someone else to come rescue me. I actually think this would be so cool. We'll put it on the list because Chris is already over here.
Okay.
I know his brain's like that actually would be cool. That would be cool. Cabin crisis is a feature I'm really proud of because, this was born from the idea of exceptions in aviation are the rule, right? It is very, 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 very rare that in the aviation world a flight goes the way you planned from start to finish. There's always something, 10 things, 100 things that end up being slightly or sometimes significantly different from what the plan said, right? I've never heard of a flight going perfectly. There's no such thing. And cabin crisis was meant to introduce this idea of surprising you with an exception. We all have random simulated system failures, but those are actually pretty rare in aviation. Right? What's not rare in aviation are human-caused exceptions. And so I love this idea that in the middle of your flight, you're going to hear the cabin crew go, Captain, there's a kid running around in the back trying to name something, right? But some scenario where the captain now has to decide if he's going to intervene. The captain now has to decide if it's going to impact the flight. If it is going to impact the flight, okay, it's time to start looking for alternates and diversions. Like all of a sudden, you should be paying attention to your airplane, right? Instead of drinking your coffee. You suddenly have a series of decisions to make. And we've modeled it so that it's a true sort of AI generative scenario, meaning one, no two scenarios are the same.
Pocket Sky
right? The stories will never play out exactly the same ever. So we've had literally billions of these scenarios now, none of them the same. And two, you can sort of control the narrative, right? You can say, look, I need you to just go back there and see if you can get them to calm down. If you can, great. If not, let me know and we'll figure something out. And you don't know which way that's going to go, right? Truly, it's really cool. And so those were really important to us with cabin crisis, that we wanted exceptions, but now we wanted to simulate the human-caused exceptions, right? The stuff that is not just an algorithm. And AI is really good at this stuff, like really good at this stuff. And so it was such a natural like extension.
Yeah.
And people wanted it so much that we finally just added a button so you can be like, all right, now make it go wrong, or you can be surprised, right?
And where it gets kind of sore in your head is all of these features. You know, traditionally you're thinking of, okay, these are scripts, these are dev-written scripts.
Right.
It's going to do this at this time, but with the model that you have and the training that you're doing with AI, which is so very new, where everyone's still trying to get their head around it. No, you're actually teaching it to behave in this sort of environment and start thinking for itself.
It's actually much harder than it sounds.
Yeah.
But yes, that's exactly right. So, we've gotten so used to all of this in the gaming world and the flight sim world that everything is a script. It's an algorithm, and it starts to feel real predictable real fast, right? It's really cool the first 2 times you do it, and then after that you're like, I think I'm starting to figure out how this works.
Yeah.
We try to avoid that at all costs. Algorithmic AI is great. It has its place, but it should never be the thing that faces the user.
Yeah. Which is important, because you know you'll see a lot of others who will traditionally use that model, and as I say, it works great once, twice, 3 times, but it starts fading off very quick. You know.
Right. Eventually, you have that sort of eye roll moment, and you're like, I'm no longer feeling the magic. Right.
Yeah.
And generative AI, believe it or not, when well done, solves that.
Yeah.
And we even find that as we change the models, the personality can change significantly. So even just varying the AI model, like sometimes we'll send the output through XAI instead of OpenAI, and we find that even though the rules and the parameters are the same, the experience ends up feeling wildly different.
Yeah.
So even little tricks like that have been interesting and useful.
Sweet. Quick one. Voices, AI voices, right? So we know that you've added in, there's a ton of voices in there now. There's regional voices coming in. How often, or at what stage will you review a voice pack?
Right.
Or what the AI is saying at a controller level or other pilots now, right? And we know that the community can help with that. There's an option there that it'll pick up their voices, and there is nothing more immersive. I mean, you're flying in a particular region and you hear a local accent. Particularly with this stuff, that's always been a draw to me flying on an online network, because it's like, you can talk to the lads from Boston. How are you? It's like, and you hear all these accents, it's like, it's very immersive, right? And especially when you get to Ireland and you can't. But at what stage are you able to say, okay, look, here's all these voices that we have. Are you going to pick 1 or 2 off a list, or is that something you have to constantly keep on top of?
Oh boy, Sven is back there just sweating as he's hearing you talk about these voices. Sven does a wonderful job with this, but I'm proud to say that every voice in every position is curated, meaning we've sort of looked at the voice, we've looked at the position, we've said, okay, assign this voice to this area, and it's one area where we don't use AI to make those decisions because we really, really want it to be good and right and those kinds of things. We've talked about doing it before, but I'm like, no, it'll screw it up, and it's just one area where it's not great at it, right? So this is one thing we do use humans for. Sven does a wonderful job with this, but they're each curated, and accents are particularly problematic from an AI voice generation perspective, and they're out there, they're okay. If you've heard AI generated accents, they often sound like a narrator reading a book to you, and we don't want that in the cockpit, right? And so one of the biggest challenge we have with our voices is that air traffic control has a very specific cadence and a very specific style that they speak in. And I always use the analogy of they sound like they're bored out of their mind, but they have to go to the bathroom right now. Right? And so mimicking that style is, all of the AI voice providers out there, they just roll their eyes when we show them what we're after. They're like, that's not what we do. Because what they're trying to do is, again, audiobook narration and storytelling and gaming scenarios and things like that. And so we've had to sort of take ownership of a lot of those tasks when it comes to the voice generation. And the one thing that's actually helped us a ton is our customers who volunteer and say, you can use my voice as an air traffic controller. And then we say, what accent do you have and things like that. And we don't use all of them because this technology is so early that we'll take a voice and do an AI clone of that voice. And for reasons we don't understand and nobody understands, sometimes they don't turn out very well. Like, we'll listen to it and just be like, this is terrible. It sounds like the guy, but it's wrong. This isn't going to work. And other times we'll do an AI replica of a voice, and it's amazing, and perfect. And so I would say we're able to use maybe 20% of the voices that our customers donate.
Okay.
Now that'll go up over time as the technology improves and gets better. We'll be able to use more and more of those voices. But for now, that's about what we're getting. But that's great. I mean, we have thousands of customers, and if just a few of them donate their voices, and if just 20% of those work, that gives us like a lot of voices. We have well over 1,500 voices in our library now, and growing. And I am proud to say, and I can sort of give a teaser announcement here, the next big thing that we're looking at with voices, and I'm hoping soon, so be prepared, because when we get this right, it's going to be like next level cool.
Yeah.
Is true modeling of personality and emotion. So that is very, very hard to do with the subtlety of the ATC level, right? Because the phraseology might not change, but the delivery gives you a tremendous amount of information about that controller. Is he stressed? Is he angry? Is he entirely too relaxed? And therefore I might need to be paying more attention than I should, right? But even though the words coming out of the controller's mouth are the same, being able to model that, you know, I mean, that is a very complex thing. That's the next thing in AI voices, and we are right on the edge of being able to deliver it to you guys.
That's going to be incredible.
I'm so excited about this. So you'll be able to literally make a controller angry, and he'll stay angry.
Or make them feel happy as well, of course, you know. But you're very right. I mean, you know, when we look at flight simulators, they are always at that bleeding edge, right? They're pushing forward. When we've seen that with Microsoft Flight Sim, we see with X-Plane, they're constantly looking at new ways to deliver this experience, new graphic engines, you know, new ways to render. The AI market is doing the exact same, and that's why I think it's a very good fit within flight simulation, because, well, we expect the best. We're always looking for something better than what, you know, was already out there. So we're seeing a lot of stuff starting now with AI, and that will actually impact on other genres, on other simulators, other games.
This stuff that we're working on next year is going to be everywhere.
Yeah.
Everybody in here is going to have pieces. That doesn't have to necessarily be from us, but this stuff's going to be everywhere. 2 years from now, it'll be weird if it doesn't.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's going so fast. I spend 1 to 2 hours a day just reading and catching up on what's changed in AI since the previous day. To think that there's that much content, 1 to 2 hours a day that I've spent just seeing what changed since yesterday. I mean, this stuff's moving wildly fast. No, I don't know of anything in the entire history of humanity that has ever moved this fast.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's great.
It's awesome.
It's fun, and like to see how it can impact on your own sim, your own flying experience. Be it that there's traffic, be it that there's ATC coverage, the missions. You know, we mentioned with SkyOPS. You've all of these options, all talking and listening to each
so
other.
we'll be able to stress out our virtual controllers.
And the best part about this, we can end on this. The best part about this, in my opinion, is that the type of stuff that we're doing isn't taking anyone's jobs away.
No.
Right? All this cool stuff that we're building, all of the traction we're getting, the enhancements to the sim, nobody's losing their job because of this stuff. We just all get bigger smiles on our faces. If that's not the coolest application of AI ever, I don't know what is. Right?
Well said, well said.
Yeah. Thanks for doing this.
Not at all. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, this is awesome. Thank you.
Folks, thanks a million. Enjoy the rest of your day. If you have any questions, we'll be hanging around. And thanks so very much indeed.
All right, thanks for tuning in. And if you do have any more questions, get on our Discord. We will answer all of them. And I'm going to go harass Brian because we should put SkyOPS on Pocket Sky.
Okay.
Yep, good. All right, we'll talk to you guys later.